Welcome back, everyone. Fr0zen versus Zalae about to get started here as we have ourselves a little bit of an interesting twist on the protects and the bans. We have a Paladin protect and a Quest Shaman ban. We haven't seen this very much in Grandmasters. We haven't seen it this week. We haven't seen it last week. And the last time we saw something of this caliber was all the way back in the previous season, but at the same time, we haven't really seen Shaman be thrown into the mix. So, one thing that's really intriguing to me is how people throw in OTK Paladin. We've been talking about this week as a common theme for Americas that 14 out of the 16 players brought Paladin. And it seems to be a central figure of people's pick and ban strategies, TJ.
Yeah, it really has, and I think Fr0zen is one of the best pilots of the deck, and I really understand it, but I do just... Fr0zen, this decision is really smart for a couple of reasons. One, Zalae is a player that doesn't try and get too fancy. He doesn't try and do these crazy out-of-the-box things. He just tries to keep it, very simple. That's kind of his MO. And simple in this metagame is protect priest, ban priest. That's pretty obvious. Fr0zen, after seeing protect priest from Zalae, can assume that he's banning priest, which means that Fr0zen has the ability to ban away his shaman, which was a good matchup for his priest anyway, and a poor matchup for some of his other decks, including Paladin. So I really like this decision from Fr0zen to predict the ban coming out from Zalae, predict Zalae's behavior in that regard, and kind of come out with maybe a slight edge, or at least more of an edge than he would have gained by just going with kind of the standard play. But we're going to get into game number one. It is the Holy Wrath Paladin versus the Druid. Zalae's Druid, it's not the greediest of Druids. It does have King Phaoris at the top end and at least the Enlightened. So it does have, some gas. Does not have the Chef Nomi, which would be the ultimate kind of greed package with all the top end. But that's usually saved for kind of those warrior metas where you expect to be facing against a lot of warriors and you need that kind of non-stop waves of threats.
That's right. The waves of threats is really what's important. You want to be able to line them up to be in succession so that Paladin can't really miss a beat and then you're pushing damage. If you set up a big turn on, say, turn 5, and then wait a couple turns and do it on like turn 7, and then wait a couple turns and do it on like turn 9 with scenarios, you're just going a little bit too slow. And then Paladin has an opportunity to breathe, and then they can set up a turn for card draw in between. What you really want to do, and from my experience, is pressure the Paladin so they never have time to really get all their draw cards out of their hand. They have to use their removal right here, right now, and they just have to have the right optimal removal. Easier said than done, of course. But, for example, Zalae could opt, instead of taking, say, a Nourish, which is traditionally what you want to do as the Druid to be able to ramp up against slower decks. Maybe he takes Tending Torn, or maybe he plays Ancient of War. These are all possibilities that he's thinking about. Because the Crystal Merchant is going to come out on 3, but from turns 4 onwards, it's a pretty open discussion of what you want to play.
Yeah. He already has a Nourish in hand, so I think second Nourish is a little bit of overkill, even though you do need a lot of cards with Crystal Merchant and the Nourish already there.
Right.
A little bit greedy, and I like the Tending Torn more so than the Ancient of War, just to kind of spread the threats on the board. Fr0zen does have a Subdue in his deck, so Ancient of War's 7-mana minion gets shut down effectively by 1 card in Fr0zen's deck, which, sure, it's a 1-of, but his Paladin deck just draws so many cards that it's oftentimes difficult to try and avoid playing around 1 card.
I agree. I think that you don't really play around the 1 card, so what you end up doing is just basically playing your best possible game plan. That's part of the frustration, I would say, the struggle of playing against Highlander decks. A lot of times they only have 1 copy of cards, and I only say a lot of times because these days it feels like some Highlander decks opt to incorporate multiple copies of certain cards. And then you end up getting punished anyways because they just have a bunch of different removals, right? It's like they have a 1 of silence, like a 1 of defensive weapon removal, etc. Now going into the Worthy Expedition, Druid, the Scythe, Keeper of the Grove, Crystal Power, all kind of meh, but one thing that might actually be a hidden MVP is the Keeper of the Grove, because you could silence card draw, or you can silence things like Tyrion so they don't die, and get the death rattle effect or on-hit ability. So I'm looking at the Keeper of the Grove. That being said, Druid of the Scythe, very efficient mana tempo. It's a 3/3. It's a 3-mana 4/4 with Rush and Taunt. Wow, this is interesting, TJ. Crystal Power. This is the one I was expecting the least.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
I think Zalae just realizes that the other cards aren't good enough, whereas Crystal Power may have the use of healing himself out of range of like a second combo or a first combo, right? If 1 mana can buy himself 1 extra turn.
That is correct under the assumption that his quest isn't complete. I'm not sure if Crystal Power allows you to heal yourself once you finish the quest. And again, like I said, I still to this day have never taken Crystal Power off of a Worthy Expedition because I never felt like it was a good pick.
I'm pretty sure if there's no minions on board, you can still heal your face.
Okay. Well, that's something that I haven't directly tested because I care a little bit too much about winning, TJ. So I pick like every other option except for Crystal Power. And
yeah.
I also have read a few times on subreddits and forum discussions about how Crystal Power, they really want to change the interaction because a lot of times you overkill something, but then you heal a minion. How does that interaction work, right? Does that mean that the minion should stay alive, like if you hit an Acolyte of Pain? Or
yeah.
Does that mean that it should actually die?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Because if there's a minion on board, you do have to target a minion, and it heals the minion also. But I want to say that I've used it without the quest. I've played a lot of Quest Druid. I know I've picked it like once. And
well, we're about to find out. I mean,
yeah.
Zalae's quest is going to finish. And I think maybe Zalae picked the Crystal Power up under the guise of maybe even using the 2 damage to get through something like any minion that was played to remove it on board.
Yeah, but it has to kill it outright.
Yeah.
Or else it'll heal it back up. I mean, he could use it as a way to heal one of his own minions for 3, as long as it won't die.
1 mana heal 3.
Yeah, but in that case, in such a fringe usage scenario, if he would have picked Druid of the Scythe or Keeper of the Grove.
I hope you like my
right? Because I think, expecting something to silence, even though there's no loot border, you've seen Blood Mage Thanos played.
Agreed. I mean, in this position, it's totally fine. You can always surge your Crystal Power, the one that trades into the 3/4. I'm okay with that.
Well, no, you can't, because it'll die, right?
Oh, you're right. Because it is 3 attack.
Yeah.
The Nourish was something that Zalae was looking forward to, and now with that Wrath pickup, everything's going to line up perfectly. He's at 8 cards. He goes to 10. He has 2 extra mana from the 2 mana gain, so he can Wrath it down. And I think investing into your mana crystals is a really good way to ensure that you have those waves of threats. Because what it looks like to me is that Zalae is going to be able to play a threat on 9, King Ferris on 10, back it up with Power of the Wild and Oasis Surger on 11.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't have 11 mana crystals, but effectively the turn after.
The problem is if he doesn't pick up the Nubisat Defender, he would burn a card. Because Wrath will replace itself.
Sure. Another alternative is to just play Power of the Wild right here, or play Crystal Power. That being said, what's the card that you don't want to burn this match? Loop? Oh, he finds an Innervate.
Oh.
Well, that Innervate is good for King Feora, so Zalae holds on to it. Yeah. And you know what? I mean, that Crystal Power is also a spell. It was the only spell out of the 3 minions. Or sorry, 3 choices. Therefore, he gets an extra 1 mana minion.
Yeah, but honestly, I think that can sometimes be at a detriment. Because if your hand is full of spells, which Druid, they do have a good amount of minions, but oftentimes even more spells. You may get a 1 mana minion instead of a 6 mana minion on the board, since you only have those 6 slots available. It's a lot of health.
I mean, we can get to the 50s range with Paladin. That's a lot of HP to chew through. Ooh, that's gotta sting. So Zalae has 6 spells in hand from what I count. An Innervate would cost 1 spot, so not going to be that big of a deal.
A 1-drop, 2 2-drops, a 4-drop, and a 6-drop.
Doesn't have the Flabindus Floop in hand. Had he known Cineris would be the next card, he obviously would have opted to throw away this Innervate. but he did not. And I think Cenarius and Floop are the only 2 burns that he would just feel like they're super crucial to win this matchup. With the exception, of course, like the situational reactions being Ferocious Howl and Hidden Oasis. But those are like plan B. Plan A is to just kill him.
If he wasn't going to 100% innervate out Feoris' turn, I guess he's using Innovate anyway, but that's a big cost to pay for being greedy for Innovate.
Well, part of it was that he anticipated Fr0zen not playing Crystal Smith Kangor, and given how much life is on Fr0zen's side, with enough life, that means Fr0zen doesn't have to play a timeout. Like, if he's in the 50s range, there's nothing Druid can really do to kill him that turn, so he can just pass and draw cards.
Yeah.
So I think he doesn't want Fr0zen's life to get way out of control, and with Kangor on the board, and with a True Silver equipped, plus other healing potential in the hand, Fr0zen could have easily jumped up the 40 life this turn.
How much does Fr0zen want to react to this, I think is the question.
I don't think he needs to do too much.
Yeah.
I would like to see something be done to address this board here. And I like this subdue and the attack, because, again, it reduces the power significantly, but you keep the card draw going, which is what the Paladin wants. Yep. So no wide sweeping board removal used by Fr0zen. So this is an opportunity for Zalae. See, so in this position, this is kind of where I thought Keeper of the Grove would be really effective instead of the Crystal Power. But Zalae can squeeze in a little bit more of an efficient tempo play here because Crystal Power is cheaper. But denying the card draw is something that's pretty valuable to me in this matchup, given how important that deck needs. Or it's basically, card draw is what that deck needs most above anything else.
I'm waiting for this Crystal Power. Zalae must have had a plan. I'm waiting for it to just win him the game. Because that's effectively what it has to do to meet the expectations, right? Picking it over
a Keeper of the Grove?
Keeper of the Grove. Yeah. Or even Druid of the Scythe, 3 mana, make a 4/4.
Sure.
You can fit that in for another wave of threat. Yeah.
Right? Pretending Torrent. I think this is like a position where Zalae probably wants to just... Oh, he's going all face.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
The swipe with the spell damage gets the clear. I like it. Putting pressure on the life total. Now Fr0zen has to clear. And if he clears, he plays Feoris. And if he clears Feoris, he has the Floop.
Yeah, Feoris is just, he's...
Don't shake your fist at the 6 drops. There's a
1, 2,
handful
3,
of them
6.
which are really problematic.
Yeah. True.
But the 1, 2, 3, I'm definitely not having high hopes for. Plus, Zalae could draw. He has a bunch of draws in his deck that have yet to unlock.
Yeah, Starfalls, another Nourish, another Hidden Oasis.
So in this position, Pyromancer Consecration clears off most of this. He's at 25. So it should be relatively good to go. Crystology to dig deeper through his deck. I believe there might be 1 card left. No, he has a Novice Engineer in hand already. He might be out of 1 mana minions.
Yeah.
So one attack minions, excuse me.
If that's the case, he's just going to hold on to it. There's an argument for getting the mana expenditure out of the way in case you get to a situation where you have a full hand and you don't have a mana. It does give Zalae a slight amount of information, but not much, because Zalae can do process of elimination, know that if Crystology draws nothing, all he has is a Novice Engineer in hand.
Savannah Highmane, Lorewalker Show.
What?
Although Lorewalker Show doesn't really do too much in the face of an AoE clear like Shrink Ray.
It gives him more fodder for the flooped Feoris.
Oh, you're right.
If he Shrink Rays, that puts a 5-mana spell in his hand.
That being said, Shrink Ray means that Zalae only deals 7 damage. Okay, so Prismatic Lens will draw us Shirvala, potentially Shirvala, with no Holy Wrath swap, which is good. Okay, so we have 2 timeouts. So Prismatic Lens draws 2 cards, timeout draws 2 more cards, Novice Engineer draws the 5th card, Holy Wrath draws the 6th card. So Fr0zen is pretty close to dealing to get the guarantee off the Holy Wrath. And there might be another card draw source in this deck that I'm not considering right now. There's a Consecration. There's an Equality.
Is there a Hammer of Wrath?
There's a Hammer of Wrath as well. So yes, there are other forms of card draw in the deck. And Zephyrus, can't forget about that. Shrink Ray. And again, these cards don't help Zalae that much right now. Except for Power of the Wild. Power of the Wild is also a card that... Oh!
It can put a Power of the Wild in his hand.
Wait. There's a mill opportunity here.
Yeah.
There's a mill opportunity here, TJ.
There's 5 cards left. Shirvala is one of them.
Fr0zen's holding 9 cards. All Zalae has to do is play 1 card.
And it can just be Power of the Wild. It'll help him push damage, too. That's 14 damage.
I wonder.
He also has Ferocious Howl, which could pick up... There's still spell damage on the board. So if he Ferocious Howl into Swipe, which I believe he's only used 1 of.
Yeah, this is also one of those things where you're talking about Fr0zen not dumping things like Crystology.
Yeah.
Granted, he still would have gotten his hand filled, but it is one of those scenarios you're talking about with like hand space issues. And Fr0zen not being able to have his Shirvala in hand means there's a 20% chance this game is over right here.
Job's done.
He can heal to himself.
Yeah, you can heal to yourself,
Hand is too full.
or you can target a minion.
There you go. Okay. I was under the impression that you couldn't, which is maybe why I should probably pick that card a little bit more often.
You can't heal a minion. Like, obviously, you can heal it for 3, but if it dies, it doesn't get healed.
Right.
You can't use both effects. That's the problem. But I
You
specifically
can if your Acolyte's at like 3 health.
well, you can't use both effects like kill a minion and heal your face.
Right. You have to choose one or the other usually.
Yes.
Got it.
I hope you
That
like
makes
my
a lot of
invention.
sense. And now, with the fact that Fr0zen has been cleared, he can now consecrate and timeout.
The worry that I have is that he doesn't have time, because he needs
Combo.
2 Holy
Move
Wraths.
quickly.
Sort of. Next turn he can... Oh, actually, you're right.
Zalae will likely Ferocious
Is
Howl.
too full.
Yeah. He will Feoris. He will trade Feoris and then Ferocious Howl. Oh,
You probably
Ferocious Howl
Ferocious Howl
first,
first.
so you can get the extra armor.
Yeah, get the extra armor, and also he has enough spells in his hand to where he wants to get rid of the cheaper spells.
Sure.
What to do?
Because he has 2 6-mana spells, 2 5-mana spells, and 2 4-mana spells. He actually also has lethal from hand with Swipe plus Consecration.
The exception to this is if Fr0zen Holy Wraths preemptively, because Shirvala hasn't been drawn. So if Shirvala misses on the 1 and 3, Fr0zen has 2 cards left in his deck, which would be Shirvala plus whatever card remains. At first glance, it looks like Pyromancer, Shirvala, and a second copy of Crystology? No, he's holding it. Second Baleful
For
Bank.
no one.
So I think Fr0zen's feeling a lot of distress right here. Zalae opting to go for Feoris before Ferocious Howl. I think in his mind, he can't die in 1 turn. So he's trying to bait Fr0zen into committing to it. Draw Shirvala on the next turn from Fr0zen. That's not what he wants to see. Hidden Oasis being used, I mean, that might give Fr0zen some false sense of security into trying to commit to a 2-turn kill here. So one thing Fr0zen can do is clear the board and then time out. And if he's desperate enough, he goes... Well, he doesn't have to clear the board and time out, but if he clears the board, he can go for Shirvala, Baleful Banker, Holy Wrath, and then timeout, and then go for it again over 2 turns. So So this is a attempt for him to what?
Holy Light? Or not Holy Light, Healing Touch?
Frost Nova?
Oh, what?
So the Frost Nova was for next turn.
Ah, the Frost Nova is for next
So
turn.
this is for him to buy another turn, manipulating.
But he should know that he gave Zalae a Consecration, and Zalae still has a swipe left. Oh, he's gonna so his plan is to go off with Shirvala next turn and heal up with Shirvala and then Frost Nova.
Yeah, he's doing the Shirvala, Baleful Bank, Holy Wrath, Frost Nova play, I think.
But that's still he'll still have one extra card in his deck.
Well, I mean, it's a 50-50. I think he feels like he's in a bad enough spot where he has to go for it.
Yeah.
The other alternative was to use Zephrys, but he was at 4 mana. So 4 mana would give you like Brawl or Blizzard. And then you still could die because you're at 6 life and he knows about the swipe Consecration. So I think Fr0zen says, I need to use a timeout now.
Yep.
And then I want to use the Zephrys as another timeout opportunity. And then get out of the range of direct damage. And I mean, Fr0zen knows exactly what Zalae has.
And then go for a 50-50.
Right, because Zalae's at 3 cards left. It's just an astronomically high chance that he has.
Yeah. So what does he want to play here?
Zalae?
Yeah.
I think he wants to just free up board space so that way he can play cards if he needs that have higher impact. Like for one thing, he could Elise and get back another Hidden Oasis or another Ferocious Howl.
I'm almost out of cards.
Pyromancer. So Hammer of Wrath, Shirvala,
Doesn't have
Baleful
mana.
Banker, Frost Nova. Shirvala, Hammer of Wrath, Frost Nova, Baleful Banker. That's 25. And he gets to kill the Safeguard.
Wait. He can't go for Hammer of Wrath.
Oh, we can't Holy Wrath now, though. You're right.
Yeah, because he wouldn't be able to hold Wrath now. He needs to take a 50-50 now.
Oh, he gets the 50-50.
Okay.
And now he needs to Frost Nova.
So now he heals and then Frost Novas.
Yes. He doesn't have room to Holy Wrath, Hammer of Wrath anymore.
Well, he draws his last card next turn, so it's a Baleful Banker, so it's a guaranteed win.
Or is it, though?
Whoa.
Because Zalae
Quickly.
He has Shrinkway Swipe, Shrinkway Consecration.
Right, he knows he has Shrinkway Consecration, but it doesn't kill everything. It doesn't kill the 7/5. And you just have to shuffle it in. Starfall. Starfall Swipe.
Starfall Swipe. Was using the second Shirvala necessary?
He was at
13. How do you die from 13?
Swipe, swipe, Elise, swipe. No, that's not enough mana. I don't know. I feel like this Shirvala play, it's very bold. His last card is Baleful Banker number 2.
Zalae used his only Ferocious Howl. He used the 2 cards that were picked up from Worthy Expedition. He does have
So wait.
I'm trying to rack my brain here.
I mean, he knows Zalae has the second form of Hidden Oasis, so he'd be at 26. So he actually can't kill him off of the next turn. So I think in his mind, he has to go for board presence so he can get that extra damage, push past the taunt, and then heal out of range. But
That's
this
true.
looks like...
So he's doing this to get the 2 extra damage.
Right, to get the extra damage because he can't kill him just with Holy Wrath.
Okay, I see it.
Is that... Hold on. So Baleful Banker, shuffle in, Holy Wrath to 25. You clear 3 of those minions and you have 3 mana remaining. He's still 1 damage off lethal.
Can he survive to play Hammer of Wrath next turn?
Not without an equality, which he burned.
He can kill 3 minions, so he can kill all the taunts.
Right, and go to 30 life. He has to do this. There's just no way that... There's no getting around it.
Yeah.
Baleful Banker, Holy Wrath.
So the Shirvala, using the second Shirvala was necessary to take the risk.
Right. So Lei not clearing the Shirvala is because he feels very confident that he can't die.
I'm out of cards. I must move quickly.
I'm a little hard-pressed to wonder why Zalae didn't kill the Shirvallah.
Yeah, that's...
Wait, are we misremembering
What?
that he can't kill the Shirvallah because Starfall deals 2 damage, or you swipe first and then you Starfall? Yeah. You swipe first, you swipe the 7-5, pops Divine Shield.
You swipe the 7-5, pops the Divine Shield.
I just want to make sure that we're not saying something that's
Yeah.
impossible.
So, Festival Recall gains 1 attack every time a minion attacks, so he can use Oasis Surger.
6'10",
So he gained
18. Oh, hold on. We played this really fast.
It was 27, 28 damage, I think.
And the fatigue is 1.
Yeah, 28 with the fatigue. Because you play Oasis Surger.
Right.
Right?
You get 3 attacks with this. You get 2 attacks with the Oasis Surger.
Yeah, so add 2 more attack plus swipe plus the fatigue hit. So 2 more attack
Need a hand, Explorer?
would be 7 plus swipe. He would be down to 3 plus fatigue hit. He would have been down to 2. So it was a little bit off lethal. And wow. Okay. I'm pretty sure Fr0zen played that game like a god.
Yeah, I think Fr0zen played this perfectly from what it looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there was like a small I think he probably should have played Crystology, but in the end, Crystology had use of the Pyromancer as a one spell, so you can argue that. Zalae, I really have to wonder about the swipe and Starfall play because I'm having a hard time seeing the downsides of it.
Fr0zen cannot win if you kill the Shirvallah.
Right.
Because he would have been at 14.
Zephyrs was used.
There's no Shirvallahs left in the deck. You can count his cards down. He has a Hammer of Wrath, a Holy Wrath, a Baleful Banker, a Crystology. If you kill the Shirvallah, there's no way that you lose the game. But Fr0zen put himself in a perfect position to capitalize on maybe that one misstep. I was trying to figure out why he'd play the second Shirvallah, but he would have been 1 damage off lethal because he couldn't fit in the Hammer of Wrath on the same turn that he Holy Wrath. You saw him go up to 26. He absolutely needed the Shirvallahs on board to help fight, to buy himself 1 more turn in order to do it. Yeah.
Really well done by Fr0zen. And Zalae, I think, assuming things were correct based off our analysis, going to have to pick it up for game number 2. So we're going to take a break. It's just game 1 of Sunday here at week 4 of Hearthstone Grandmasters. Stay tuned.
Legends say powerful treasures are hidden everywhere here in Aldum.
If we hope to defeat Rafam, we'll need as many as we can get. He's already unleashed the ancient plague lords and countless monsters. Keep them distracted, Reno.
Not a problem. This plan is totally gonna work. Ain't that right, Finley?
Oh, yes! I have them right where I want them.
There is an artifact here. The name is...
The Scales of Justice. Oh, it must be really fancy.
only to be used in a time of great peril. Yes, I think this qualifies.
Hey, look, Finley! You've lured one of the Plague Lords!
Take this, fiend!
In the face! Yeah! Hey, guys! Get that treasure! We've got a Plague Lord to destroy!
Get these, hurry!
Not to worry, Finley! We'll just push this thing right here.
No, that's a trap! Watch out!
It's all good. I am totally tired.
Gracious me!
What we actually need to do is press this. And there. A fish.
No! It's the Scales of Justice!
Oh. Ah, who wants to use it first?
Oh, I do! Me! On second thought, maybe give it to Finley?
All you had to do is hold a rope.
Here we go, blaming the tall, ruggedly handsome guy again.
My name is Paul Nemeth, aka Zalae, and you can find me on Twitter at ZalaeHS, and more importantly, my stream, twitch.tv/ZalaeHS. Tune in, twitch.tv/ZalaeHS. A day in my life, I wake up when I feel like it, then I go to the gym when I feel like it, after that I stream when I feel like it, and then after that, I try and do something productive, and it doesn't always work. My personal goals for this year, I prefer to make short-term goals. So I try to live each day as best I can and make good decisions in the moment. And I don't focus too much on long-term goals because that can be complicated. And I think it's good to keep things simple and focus on what's important in the here and now. You know, it would be pretty cool if I could be first place in the Grandmasters system, but to be completely honest, I don't expect that. Just saying's a little bigger than me. Yeah, second place. That seems like a realistic goal. I could probably finish second place in the Grandmasters program. And I feel like second place it's a nice, comfortable spot for me. I'm into second place.
Fr0zen's up 1-0 after what feels like an effective throw from Zalae. Looks like he kind of punted that game at the very end by not killing Shrivala. I think in his mind, there was one other card that he was playing around, some kind of combo, but at 14 life, he should be effectively safe against Pyromancer, Hammer of Wrath, Crystology, Baleful Banker, and Holy Wrath. There's nothing you can really do, especially with the deck's empty already.
Yeah, Dan and I spent the break pretty much talking about that matchup in its entirety. We even went back to the second Shrivala play from Fr0zen.
It seems a little unnecessary.
It seems a little unnecessary, assuming that Fr0zen does that, expecting Hidden Oasis and expecting to need additional damage.
Right. The logic of why you would play this Shrivala there is because you need to get damage to attack face and not rush. Because you can always play Shrivala for free at any time.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
But
the second would be the healing that he felt like he needed.
Yes, but assuming the reason why he does the play in the first place, Hidden Oasis comes out, there's 3 taunts in plays anyway, which means he doesn't get to push through any extra damage by having something on board. And so it would make more sense to not make the Shrivala vulnerable and keep it in hand since you still get 3 attacks anyway.
Right.
So I understand why he made it, but he stopped at step 1 why he made it and didn't think to step 2 of why he made it.
He was also roping, so I think he just said, you know what, I'd rather have it on the board and
give myself a chance.
Chances. But had he had a little bit more time to probably think it through,
maybe he come to
probably would have come to the same conclusions.
But it took us 5 minutes. The end of the game plus 3 minutes during the break
and
to come up with that.
2 brains to come up with it.
And 2 brains, whereas... but I do think he played it well, and but it was made possible for him to win by the fact that Zalae just had an opportunity to kill the Shrivalas on board at 14 life, be very safe from anything Fr0zen could do, and didn't, and opted for another play. So
the only exception is if he felt like his opponent had direct damage from hand, but Druid's not really a class that does that. The only direct damage he can get that's generated out is Druid of the Claw. Everything else is pretty honest in terms of what you see on the board.
Yeah.
And he knew about swipe, but at 13 he would have been pretty safe.
Yeah.
In the light's name.
Either way, moving on to game number 2, Shaman versus Priest. No Northshire Cleric to start things off, but 2 Light Wardens with a pair of arms. Ooh, Ethereal Lackey, potential game changer.
Ooh.
Plague of Murlocs.
Oh my goodness. And Fr0zen actually has a natural copy of Plague of Murlocs in his deck, which does give him a little bit of extra thought. Hagatha's scheme could be good, but that Plague of Murlocs is just the nuts against Priest. All these buffs and all of these manipulations they're trying to do on their minions, it completely gets rid of all of it, and oftentimes it can turn your board full of 1/1s into a more powerful board to fight against what your opponent's trying to do.
Not to mention, Psychopomp Hail Marys are thrown out the window because Plague of Murlocs turns everything to Murlocs, which means that they die and your Psychopomp has a high chance of reviving a 2/1 Murloc Raider.
Yep.
Not too quickly.
Now that being said, I did play a couple of Quest Shaman games earlier this week, TJ. I did get a Plague of Murlocs. I evolved his minions into 2 Scar Gills, and he still got the Divine Spirit Inner Fire, and I lost.
Sometimes that happens as well.
It does happen.
But it's better a Star Guild than an injured Blade Master.
Yeah, you're right. And, like, I didn't die that turn. I still had opportunities to win, but, like, he was like, oh, okay, this is a 4-4. I turned to an 8-8. I just couldn't answer the 8-8 for a few turns, and I lost.
Yep. Though Zalae still has some game here. Can make the most of the minions that he does have on board. Light Wardens can get very threatening. And Zalae also has invested too much. So if Zalae just goes for like a heal past his turn, which seems reasonable because it increases his power on board by 4, and also allows him to get a better value trade with Injured Tol'vir. Then all of a sudden, Fr0zen's Plague of Murlocs, yes, it's reducing power, but not by that much, right? Because there wasn't any of those buff spells invested from Zalae. But I'm curious, it's not a mana-efficient play, it's a resource-efficient play.
I must consider.
Yeah, what's the best tempo play that Fr0zen could do on turn 4 is probably what Zalae is thinking about, and it usually involves some kind of lackey and wasp generator. So if there's a way to play around it, he's going to want to go for it. But if he trades with like the 2-3 into the 2-1, heals into Tol'vir, he plays directly into the wasp lackey combination. So he's trying to think about the best way to pick apart this board. And the truth is, if he does play a little bit too cautiously around it, he might end up walking into something just as bad, which is like Sandstorm Elemental. Oh, okay. Okay. Whoa. I mean, now, Fr0zen doesn't even really need Plague of Murlocs. Look at what he's got. He's got Goblin Lackey, Weaponized Wasp, a free Mogu Flesh Shaper. So the Goblin Lackey goes onto the 1...
The 1-1.
The 1-1.
Actually...
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Mogu Flesh Shaper goes over the 3-1.
Yes.
Because the Sludge Slurper or the 2-1 need to go into the Weaponized Wasp. And Fr0zen has full control of the board without even use of Plague of Murlocs.
I mean, the Plague of Murlocs look great, but that Mogu Flesh Shaper, devastating, and you don't have to ask anyone else on the planet about whether they think Shaman is good when they get a combination like this. Zalae, one of the early advocates of Quest Shaman pre-release, talks about the power of Shaman, and you can see it on full display, able to swing the board just enough. Now, granted, Fr0zen did get a couple of good outcomes, right? Like, he got some of the better lackeys, he got the Weaponized Wasp, and he has the Mogu Flesh Shaper. But, I mean, Priest had also a pretty reasonable start. It had 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, ready to go.
Yeah.
Can't really ask for too much better outside Northshire Cleric.
Yeah. Now Zalae's in a really rough position.
I wonder.
Yeah, Zalae is like so far behind that Fr0zen has effectively what feels like to be 2 dead cards in his hand.
Yeah.
Plague of Murlocs don't actually do anything for Fr0zen. It makes his board, on average, worse.
It's interesting. I understand Zalae's reasoning is that trades on board still end up being weaker to like Weaponized Wasp in a way. But at the same time, like face damage doesn't matter unless you have a board as Priest.
Agreed.
Like it's all about building up your board first and capitalizing on having a board in order to kill your opponent, not by putting in face damage earlier and ignoring the board state.
Fr0zen has an opportunity to play Life Trigger, finish the quest. His other option is Plague of Murlocs and get board presence with the hero power. So what he could do is Plague of Murlocs with the hero power. But he does have the option of, if he wants to even trade into the injured Blade Master. Because by killing the injured Blade Master, he's allowing Zalae to get that Psycho Pop opportunity. If he Plague of Murlocs now, he's cutting, well, he's not cutting off because the injured Tol'vir and the Light Warrens died. But he's making 1 less possible opportunity for his opponent to get the ideal outcome. That being said, he can always do it afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the same outcome.
You want to do it now? Like that makes like things like Barista and Box Slosher way worse.
Yeah.
Interesting to me that Fr0zen opted the hero power if he's not going to play Plague of Murlocs. Oh, wow. Okay, that's way better on average. So he's like, oh, okay. All right.
When you're so far behind as Priest for Shaman, where the Shaman uses their Plague of Murlocs that's specifically designed for this matchup, just for tempo.
Yeah, I wonder if there's some people who are watching this on the background or on mute. There's probably a lot of you out there.
Must consider.
Because, you know, it's me and TJ casting. Come on, let's be real.
Yeah.
Now that you have the Murlocs on board, they're like, oh, maybe I should play with Murlocs so I can get tempo against priests. Not really how it works at all. You're supposed to use it to effectively polymorph whatever big minion that they play.
I must consider.
Or buff. Or resurrect.
Yeah,
Looking bad for Zalae. I'm thinking that injured Tolvir and extra arms is something for him to consider here.
Acolyte of Pain Divine Spirit is another one to guarantee 2 draws.
Yeah, I like the Tolvir extra arms just to fight against the board reasonably. 4/5 does take out 2 of these minions.
Yeah.
Barista. Okay, so it's really funny that we're like, oh, well, if he like gets Barista or Bog Slosher.
Fish Flinger is a battle cry.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Double Fish Finger.
But quest complete for Fr0zen. Usually you want to have a nice board position as priest in this matchup once the quest is complete. And honestly, oftentimes it's not too difficult to be able to do that. One benefit for Zalae is that Fr0zen currently has no way in hand outside of that Plague of Murlocs to do with Acolyte of Pain. And it might just come out here, to be honest. Fr0zen knows that Zalae's been holding on to this card in the far left for a while. He can actually throw in a Novice Engineer with double draw to get an extra Murloc out of the pool. I think denying the card draw is probably too important.
Yeah, denying card draw is just as valuable as stopping the minion itself. Priest without card draw is a sitting duck. We've seen this happen a handful of times on broadcast, and it's happening right now. Fr0zen, full momentum on his side.
Yeah, I guess he has the Stoneclaw Totem in the way to protect from the card draw. And if Zalae tries to go all in on this Acolyte of Pain, it means that he always has the Plague of Murlocs as a backup. Ooh, Psycho Palm.
The end begins.
In the light's name.
Light Warden.
Yeah, and I think this is where that second copy of Plague of Murlocs is going to be really devastating. And can still even capitalize onto it by like hero powering and playing something else. Oof. The Nightmare Amalgam and the Murloc Tidecaller just keep coming out here in tandem. Zalae now down to basically just Bwansamdi as his only out. Because he is about to get out-tempoed very soon.
He effectively needed Bwansamdi into Ahmet and then unload on the board. And even then...
Yeah, even then he's still in danger of dying.
He's staring at 9 damage on board. He could take off one of it.
Yeah, pretty sure Zalae is going to wrap this up in a few turns here, if not this turn. He's going to go ahead and think things over, but he's looking at 2-turn lethal on his opponent's side, starting next turn. Not really much to do here. I think his best play might be to play Injured Blade Master and Divine Spirit the Injured Blade Master just to get it to stay onto the board.
And then maybe pick up second Divine Spirit, hope that Fr0zen doesn't have lethal but goes face. And then maybe picks up Power Shield into second Divine Spirit and can combo that next turn.
Job done.
But Fr0zen can eliminate everything here with the Sandstorm Elementals. So I think that even if he just goes for Giggling Inventor, there's no way for Zalae to push through since he's drawing 1 card. He would need Pyro plus other things, like Pyro. Wait.
Oh!
It's 13. If only Sandstorm Elemental also damaged your own board.
I mean, this is just icing on the cake. Just clear the board. Everything short of the 10-9. Unless your opponent has 2 Zephyrs, they still wouldn't even get you. Actually, that's not true. They'd be able to get Master Spell and Wind Fury, to be exact.
Oh, cool. Got a good outcome from the Cycle Pump. Doesn't matter.
2-0. Priest bites the dust. Fr0zen with 2 quick ones. Holy Wrath Paladin, Quest Shaman. With the Protect OTK Paladin, ban Quest Shaman, which I have looked and pretty much confirmed. That Protect ban combination has not been done this season yet.
Yeah, I think
hasn't been done in Grandmasters, period.
I think it's just a reaction from Fr0zen to 1, the metagame right now, and 2, Zalae's style of kind of going for level 1. He sees Protect Priest first off, can expect Ban Priest second off, especially since there's no Warrior in the lineup, and makes a reaction according to that and bans the Shaman away, which was the the bad matchup for his, or the good matchup for his Priest, which he knew was likely to get banned. So it was a nice read from him, but can't help but feel that that could have been a closer series had Zalae made it one different line in game number 1.
That's right. That's right. Let's go ahead and check in with Fr0zen here for a couple words on his victory. Fr0zen, can you hear us?
Yeah, what's up?
Nice, great 2-0 week for you, beating Bloodyface and beating Zalae. Let's talk a little bit about game number 1 here with the Holy Wrath Paladin versus the Quest Druid. As it's winding down, some really tough turns. What was going through your head as you were winding down to try to set up the Holy Wrath kill?
The Lord Walker show actually threw everything off. Like, I had a different play in mind, but then I knew I couldn't give the timeout, so I had to play a little bit differently. It was weird because I'm almost 100% sure if he didn't have the Zephyr, he had the heal in his hand. So he just didn't heal at 1 life at the end.
He didn't have heal or Zephyrus in hand at the end, but
at the very end?
At the very end.
Yeah, he had nothing.
When he was at 1, he had nothing.
So last part was Zephyr. Okay, so wait.
But so he had a way to kill your Shrivala the turn that you played both.
Yes, you could have swiped the middle Shrivala. It would have been a 7-1. The other one 7-5. Then he had Starfall.
I think we lost him.
I think Fr0zen's like, I'm out of this.
He's wait a second.
Wait a second.
Am I back?
Yeah, we're back.
Did you hear what we were saying?
I heard that. Yeah. So he could have set up the clear better. I mean, at the end, I knew that I had to leave the Shrivala on the board in order to win, because I know that he has to heal, and if he has to heal, then he can't really clear my Shrivala. And before that, I had the Zephyr Nova plan for a little bit.
So
why did he have to heal?
What we were focused upon your play, and we didn't.
Oh, if he just completely clears, then he So if he completely clears, he wins.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
that was what we were debating.
Yeah, that's what we were
14,
debating.
Because he was at 14 life, and you didn't have enough to kill him. And I think that perhaps he was focused on the Zephyr's draw, which we weren't accounted for because we were focused on your play.
Yeah.
But that does make a lot more sense going into it.
So he had a clear on both Shrivalas?
Yes.
Yeah, swipe on the middle Shrivala without Divine Shield, and then Starfall on the left Shrivala, because the Divine Shield would have been taken off by the first
Even
one.
Consecrate plus Starfall.
Yes.
Consecrate Starfall would have been 1 off.
1 off.
Okay.
Because it only would have done 2 damage to the middle Shrivala.
Right.
But he did have swipe plus Starfall to clear
Right.
both.
We did like the timeout play when you're at 6 and set up the Zephyrs for the Frost Nova.
Yeah.
I had to heal, and I know he had the Consecrate swipe most likely.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Good stuff all around. Good stuff all around. Redemption for the previous week, where it's like, should have gotten the Master Spell and then it didn't show up. Good demonstration of Zephyr's knowledge right there. I'm sure no one will question you on it. Going into game number 2 there, the Shaman versus the Priest. Usually we see the Shamans lose very handily to the Priest. Was it just like the really good hand that you have? Was it anything else that was in play, or perhaps the matchup's not as bad as people think it is?
I mean, he had no cleric. Bunny won earlier as well, but I mean, he had no cleric, so the matchup's like super fine when they don't draw cleric.
Saw you praying for it.
I made a really bad play by playing the Plague of Murloc. That was just completely bad. I thought the Murlocs had better stats. Like, I went to check the stats of Murlocs after I played it, and I was like, oh, they're like,
yeah, they're pretty bad. I was like, on average, you're lowering your power level.
You got good Murlocs.
Yeah, you got the good ones.
I thought they were bigger for some reason, because I keep seeing people evolving into the 4/4 and like 2/3, so I thought it was like just pretty good, but then no, it's not. So, and it also it was like the last one for my quest proc, which makes like the rest of my game a lot easier in terms of my top decks. So the life was just way better in every single way possible.
Got it.
Even though I had the 2 Plague of Murloc, so that was just super bad. Yeah, game 1 was really interesting. I think the game completely changed when the Lord Walker Choke came down. At first I thought it was actually a Nat Pagel, and then I played the Shrink Ray, and it took it.
Yeah, oh no, and then he was going to mill you, and you thought you had like a 1 in 5 to lose Shirvala right there. It was a really scary moment.
I also didn't play the Crystology, where it would have been perfect, and not given the Consecrate, and that way I didn't even have to, I could have played like Nova and not timed out, because he only had 4 reach, so that like screwed up my
yes, you're right. That's another thing too.
Yeah, you're saying if you hadn't given him the Consecration and given him Crystology instead?
Right.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
That was bad, but it's like, it's something that just comes out of nowhere, so like something like that, obviously I should be able to react to it better, but
yeah. I guess it did play around.
That's tough to ask.
It did play around him having Zephyrus like Starfall to kill his own minion, Zephyrus into fire. No, Zephyrus into. No, it wouldn't have done it.
I don't know. It was a complicated game. It was definitely interesting, but you navigated very well regardless of it, even if there's a couple of missteps.
Yeah.
And now you've won that series. You're 2-0 for the week. Congratulations, Fr0zen. You're still very much in the playoff running, and we'll see you back next week.
All right, thank you so much. Good luck, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good stuff to start off the day here. Definitely a moment of reflection for Zalae, as he needed another victory to pull himself back up in the playoff race. He would have been at a 4-4. But now with a loss here, goes to 3-5. So, again, he still has a separation, a game of separation between him and PNC. But now Fr0zen, instead of being 4-4, has tied for 2nd place. So really good stuff there from Fr0zen. And we'll have to see Zalae back next week.
Yeah, and I can imagine Zalae is going to be rooting for Amnesiac in his last match of the day against Race, just to have one extra player below him in the standings.
Right.
I guess it also puts Amnesiac one above him in the standings, but at this point for Zalae, I don't know how much the playoff race is on his mind, considering there's so many players in his division right now that do have like a 2-game lead on him, but it always feels good to have a couple players below you, so you don't have that pressure of relegation when you are trying to think about playoffs, right?